We started our trek from Pokhara and drove in a jeep first to Tanti, where our guide Tara picked up our permits, and then on a grueling and very bumpy ride to our trailhead at Batanti. We passed lots of hikers on their way up to the more popular Poon Hill trek. The hike was relatively short through a mystical rainforest to a final clearing in the forest on a ridge where we reached Ama Lodge, which is quite nice and has already amazing views of the surrounding mountains. We hiked for 2 hours and the distance was 3.3 kilometers or less than 2 miles with 430 meters or 1400 feet of uphill climbing. On our second day, we hiked from the Ama Lodge to the community lodge at Mohare Danda. It was a cold night and we had a pretty noisy rooster waking us up at 3 a.m. On the brighter side, the sunrise was amazing with clear skies and great views of the Annapurna and Manaslu ranges. The hike was easy, mostly in the forest on a ridge with occasional clearings. At Kopra Danda, we got our first view of Dhaulagiri. The hiking distance was 4.4 kilometers or less than 3 miles with an altitude gain of 670 meters or 2,200 feet. On our third day, we hiked from Mohare Danda to Swanta and stayed at one of our favorite lodges, the Candle Inn. Another cold night at 3,200 meters or 10,600 feet, but what a spectacular sunrise with no clouds. We saw for the first time the entire Dhaulagiri, Annapurna and Manaslu range. The food at the community lodge was mediocre, but the room was clean, albeit very cold, and we had no electricity. Candle Inn was the exact opposite, with electricity, attached bathroom, with shower and good food. The hike was a long descent with constant view of Dhaulagiri, and we walked through a giant rhododendron forest. We enjoyed the warmer temperatures on our downhill hike. Another day with only a very few hikers along the way. The distance was 11 kilometers or roughly 7 miles, with a descent of 1,260 meters or 4,200 feet, which was actually not too bad for our knees, and a minor ascent of 240 meters or 800 feet. On our fourth day, we hiked from Swanta to the Rockland Lodge in Dankarka. Even from the lower elevation in Swanta, we got a nice view of Dhaulagiri. The hike was mostly uphill through a forest on a good trail. We saw a big group of lemur monkeys on our way up. The lodge is a bit rustic, but we enjoyed the quiet night. The distance was 6.3 kilometers or 4 miles with an elevation gain of 860 meters or 2,830 feet. On our 5th day, we hiked from Danda to Kopra Danda, another highly anticipated viewpoint. This was a relative short hike on a good trail with views which were getting better and better as we approached Kopra Danda. We arrived before noon and decided to hike up a little bit more on the trail to Kaya Lake. The high winds on Annapurna South were amazing to watch. We got a wonderful room with views of Dhaulagiri from one window and Annapurna South from the other window. We still didn't see too many hikers. The hike was 3.9 kilometers long or 2.4 miles long with an ascent of 680 meters or 2,250 feet. On our 6th day, we hiked from Kopra Danda to the Mount Lucky Lodge in Dubatu. We followed our trail from yesterday to Dankaka and then turned left on the trail to Baezi and Dubatu. The sunrise at Kopra Danda was again spectacular. We almost got used to this amazing spectacle, but every sunrise was a little bit different. The trail was easy but long with a big descent and then a long uphill climb. The lodge is a bit rustic, but the people were very nice. The weather has been very good the last few days with beautiful mornings and some clouds in the afternoon. The hike was 13.4 kilometers or 8.4 miles long with 850 meters or 2,800 feet up and 1,040 or 3,400 feet down. On our seventh day, we hiked from Dubato to the Panoramic View Hotel in Tadapani. We got up at 5:30 and watched the sunrise from the nearby viewpoint Muldei. The viewpoint even sold hot tea and coffee. The views were magnificent as usual, and we even saw Poon Hill from our viewpoint. We later learned that hundreds of people were at Poon Hill, whereas we saw only maybe 10 hikers. We also hiked close to a herd of yaks and really enjoyed their funny noises. The trail to Tadabani was good, mostly downhill, and for the first time we saw a lot of other hikers on their way up to Poon Hill. The hotel was quite fancy and we enjoyed the view from our balcony and a hot shower. The hike was 9.8 kilometers or 6 miles long with 320 meter or 1,000 feet up and 1,070 or 3,500 feet downhill. On our last day, we hiked out from Tadapani to Gandruk, where Jeep took us back to Pokhara. We enjoyed the last sunrise from our balcony, and we were a little bit sad to leave. The night was cold, but it warmed up as soon as the sun was out. The hike was easy, mostly downhill. It was interesting to see Gandruk again and revisit our memories from last year's ABC trek. We saw many more hikers and were very glad that we avoided the crowds on our 3 viewpoint trek. The hike was 6.9 kilometers or 4.3 miles long, with an elevation loss of 770 meters or 2,500 feet.